Hello everyone and welcome to episode 27 of Suplexes and Microphones. I'm Joe, that's Nate, and in between us we have the British Nightmare, Joey Ozbourne, one of the international superstars.
Hello, how you doing? You right?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Nate?
Yeah, so it's the first time we've done a show together since
in a while.
It's been several months because Joe had obligations, I had obligations, so we're talking about it's been 6 months since we actually done a show together. So thanks to Caleb for helping us out in between. And so yeah, let's talk, Joey. So in talking to most wrestlers, they had one moment in their life they can go back and look at and say, okay, this is when I was watching something and I realized, hey, I want to do this, or I can do this, I want to pursue this. What was that moment for you?
I was about, I think it was like 13. Over in England we have different formats with high schools. We call it secondary school. And you have year 7 to year 11, whereas you have like different grades. So I was in year 7, which is the first year of secondary school. And I was watching Channel 4, which is the 4th most basic TV station in the UK, or it was at the time before we got Freeview, which was free cable. So I was watching Channel 4, Sunday Night Heat was on, and it was a rerun from SmackDown of The Rock against Big Show for the number 1 contendership to wrestle Kurt Angle at No Way Out 2001. Okay. So that kind of got me like really interested. All my friends at school watched wrestling as well. I watched WrestleMania 17. I got my next door neighbour to videotape it for me. And went round to her house the next day at like 6 a.m. to get the tape off her, which I don't really think she was too impressed with, but sorry, Jeanette.
Just couldn't wait, huh?
Yeah. So I was fairly hooked on it from that point on, and I watched it on and off from between the ages of 12 to about 18. When I was 18, my brother and sister bought me tickets for a WWE show in Manchester in the UK. I went along to it and we got there late because the traffic in England is horrendous, especially Manchester. It's dreadful. No offence any people from the great city of Manchester watching, but your traffic is bad. Just like London and Birmingham and everywhere else. Dig myself out of a hole.
Spread the love.
Yep. So we got to the show late, and the opening match, I believe, was Shelton Benjamin and Carlito. And when I walked into the main hall of the building, Shelton did a drop kick on Carlito. Obviously, the ring has a microphone underneath it when they're in the big arenas, which I wasn't aware of until I started doing the job. So hearing the drop kick, hearing the noise of him bumping on the mat, and the crowd reaction, that's when I decided at that point that this would be something really fun to do. And then I obviously stayed for the entirety of the show, and by the time I left I was pretty adamant that that's what I wanted to do, or at least try to do, and see if I was any good at it. When I was younger I used to play soccer. I've competed at a national level playing soccer. I used to sprint. I used to do the 100 and 200 meters as well as a 4x4 relay. I was about half a second off being able to qualify for the 2012 games in London, and then I tore my hamstring playing soccer, so that kind of put to bed any hopes of running in the Olympics. And as a result, I don't really play soccer anymore because I'm pretty annoyed with soccer for ruining a dream to run at the Olympics.
Right.
So
side note, we'll talk about it later, never mind. I just want to talk soccer with you, we'll talk later.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
My daughter plays and I help coach, so it's a passion of mine as well. So
you mean football, right? Not soccer?
Yeah. We're in America, so it's soccer. But anywhere else in the world, it's football.
It's football. Yeah. I don't care where we are, it's football.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, for me it's foosball. I have German family, so it's
okay.
That's mine.
Das ist gut, ja.
Yes.
Yes.
So good. Yeah. All right, so we talked about a little bit in prepping for the interview. So who are some of your favorites and some of your influences? You mentioned The Rock and Triple H. So
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what drew you to them.
Well, I mean, with The Rock, it's The Rock. You can't really say anything more. Anytime he's in a ring, he has a crowd right here where he wants them, and they will literally hang on every word he says, whether he's a babyface, whether he's a villain. It doesn't matter. The crowd wants to know what he's going to say, and he is entertaining as all hell. I can't think off the top of my head another wrestler who you can actually put on the same, kind of level as him in terms of being able to entertain, be able to talk, be able to wrestle, the whole package. In terms of Triple H, he's just built like a brick house. He turned 50 like 2 or 3 days ago, and he's in absolutely, like tremendous shape. His work ethic is like ridiculous. I watched his documentary on the network with the lead up to WrestleMania this year, and he was just working from stupid o'clock in the morning to like 2-3 in the morning, like going over to MetLife at like 4 a.m. just to practice his entrance. So from the point of view of being able to entertain and being just an all-round superstar, it's The Rock. And then from the work ethic point of view and the physical point of view, it's Triple H. But then at the same time, The Rock also covers that, because as he's gotten older, he's gotten like stupidly huge, and he's like never sleeping. You see his Instagram hashtags, Team No Sleep and stuff like that. So they're like two of the hardest working wrestlers who, when I first started watching wrestling, I was like, holy crap, these guys are cool, I mean, obviously, if I was about 10 years younger, then that would be John Cena, and it would be, Randy Orton and like guys like that. But because we're all old here,
right? Some of us more than others, but
some of us more than others. Some of us look older than others.
No, not at all. So let's talk about Joey Ozbourne. So that's not your real name, but I'm not going to ask you. Don't share your real name. But so tell me about how you came up with that name.
So originally, when I first started wrestling, I was named Joe Star. And then I asked if I could change it to Joey Star. I came up with a fantastic nickname of Mr. Galaxy, with the tagline of "The universe is my playground," or something like that.
I kind of like
it's
that.
Not nice. It's not nice.
No,
it's
I like
corny.
it. I like
it's
it.
crap. It is so corny. But wrestling is corny at the end of the day.
That's why it's perfect. So.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was Joey Star for about, I think, 4 years. Yeah, I debuted in 2008. I wrestled for 4 years as Joey Star, and then I moved to Norwich on the east coast of England to wrestle for WAW, which is run by Ricky Knight and Saraya Knight, also known as the family of Paige, her mum and dad. I lived with her brother Zach, and I was really close with her elder brother Roy, as well as her elder sister Nikki, and Asa as well, who's the third brother of the family. So I lived with those guys, I trained with them, I was on the road with them all the time, and there was another guy who wrestled down at WAW called Mitchell Starr. And in wrestling, if someone's been somewhere longest, then they kind of have, not so much the veteran card, but they have more pull than you do in that place. So he'd been there longer than I had. He used the same last name as I did. So we do the summer camps in the UK, which is 6 weeks, where you just travel around the country. You go to various holiday parks. The easiest way that I can describe them, they're like trailer parks over here.
Okay.
So you've just got big trailers on this like huge massive land, but right in the middle of it there's this like huge entertainment center. There's like a huge hall like the one next door. Most of them seat about 1,500 to 2,000 people. You'll literally go there, you'll set the ring up, you'll wrestle, you'll take it down, you'll put it in the van, you'll then drive to the next camp. So while we were doing the camp run, Zach said to me that we need to come up with a different name for me, because we had Mitchell, who was using the same last name as me. So I was like, okay, well, I really can't think of anything, and to be quite honest, I stubbornly didn't want to change my last name, because I was sat on it, I was like, I want to be Joey Star, even though there's a French rapper with the same name as me.
Really?
There is, which I found out when I YouTube myself. First fame moment of my wrestling career. Zach said to me, we need to change your name, and I said, well, if you come up with anything, then feel free to. The town where I'm from, Telford, is about 45 minutes from Birmingham, which is where I think Ozzy Osbourne is like from around the Birmingham area. He's got a Birmingham accent, which sounds like this, like, I'm Ozzy Osbourne, how you doing? Where's Sharon? Hey mate, have you guys seen Sharon? Oi, have you guys seen Sharon over there? So Ozzy Osbourne sounds a lot like that. when I first moved down to Norwich, I had that twang in my accent, so everyone made a joke, oh, you sound like Ozzy Osbourne, and you've got long black hair with like a purple or a red light under dye. You look like Ozzy Osbourne as well, you just don't have tattoos and you can't sing and you're not a millionaire and you don't live in Beverly Hills. This is getting me depressed.
You got the accent though.
I've got the accent, but I don't have any of the other stuff.
You can move a lot better than he can. Put that out there.
Oh wow.
Just trying to help you out.
Oh wow. So anyway.
Don't you beat yourself up too much.
That was a bit harsh.
Slightly, sorry.
So the joke was that I sounded like Ozzy Osbourne, and on the camps one day they just called me Joey Osbourne, and then it literally just stuck. We were driving to the next camp and I turned to Zach and I was like, I like that Joey Osbourne name, you know? And he just started peeing himself laughing. I'm like, what's so funny is like, it was a rib because you sound like Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like, well, it's a rib, but it's a good rib because I like the name, so can we run with it? And he was like, yeah, screw it, let's run with it. And instead of it being Osbourne, I just switched out the S for a Z because I just wanted to make it different, you know. So, and no one actually spells it with a Z, they spell it with an S. So I'm having to constantly message promoters sometimes and saying, you spell my name wrong, it's an S, it's a Z, not an S. So
I wonder if it was an Aussie reference with your last
Oh
name.
no, but a lot of people do think that I am an Aussie just because of my accent, because I don't have an accent from where I'm from, and it sometimes has a twang. I'll walk into a store or the gym or something and like people working there will be like, oh my god, you moved over from Australia to live in America? That's so cool. I'm like, no, I moved from England to live in America. I wouldn't move from Australia to America. If I lived in Australia, I'd be happy there.
Yeah.
So, you know.
All right, so you talk about moving to the U.S. What made you move here? And how long have you been here?
I've been here since December 2017. So when I left Norwich, because Norwich is like really cut off from the rest of the country, there's like 2 or 3 main highways in, as well as like a load of smaller roads in. It's not like, you know, cut off completely from civilization, but the nearest city or town that's large to Norwich is Cambridge, and that's about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And then from there you get like closer to the other cities like London and Birmingham and Milton Keynes and that area. But living out in Norwich, the expenses that you would have to pay to travel from Norwich to do a show elsewhere in the country were really, really high. So it was like, when I left Norwich, it was really hard to find work elsewhere in the UK because I'd just been pegged in Norwich for about 4.5, 5 years. Like people weren't aware that I left there, they thought I still lived there. So trying to get work was like really, really hard. It also didn't help that admittedly I was a bit of an a-hole in the UK, like back in the day. So I mean, a combination of that and people thinking I still lived in Norwich really didn't help me get any bookings at all. So Rome, who was an independent wrestler down in Florida, he came over to Norwich to do the summer camps one year, and he said to all of us, you know, if any of you guys ever want to come out to America, feel free to, you all can stay with me. So I hit him up after I split up with my ex-girlfriend in January 2017, and I just said, hey, I've got some spare savings, can I come and stay with you for a month and just try and get some shows? I ended up working more in 6 weeks than I had done in 6 months in the UK. So to me that was a bit of a hint. I mean, I was under no kind of like false pretenses that the main reason I got booked was because I'm English and, you know, genuinely English with like a real English accent. So like I was under no confusion that that's why I got booked and stuff like that, which I was fine with. You know, if my accent's going to get me booked, then let my accent get me booked. I really don't care if people don't think I'm a good wrestler but they like my accent, then I'm still doing something right.
The money's the same, right?
Yeah, the money's the same. Yeah, it doesn't really matter whether you like my accent or my talent in the ring or not. It doesn't
But
really
once
matter.
you're there, the talent will get you rebooked.
Yeah, well, hopefully, yeah. Well, I don't know.
That's the goal anyway.
That's the goal.
Right.
That's the goal. Yeah. So I travelled to and from for about just under a year, and then I started doing my application to get my work visa for the States, and then slowly but surely that evolved into getting my green card for the States, and I'm now just waiting for the next step on that. So
Okay.
it's all good though.
Interesting. So what made you choose Florida? Is that where your friend was, or?
It's where my friend lived, yeah.
Okay.
He still lives there now, and then, you know, factors outside of wrestling kept me coming back, you know, to and from all the time. the LOVE word. So yeah, that kept me coming back, and then that fell apart, and then I was already in my process of changing my status to be able to stay here. So I just stayed. I didn't see the point in abandoning my application. So yeah, I just stayed.
Okay.
So legally, by the way, legally.
Yes.
I just want to state that.
We're glad.
Just want to state that.
So is there a reason why you're still in Florida as opposed? I mean, I'm taking you probably, where do you work mostly? I guess more Georgia, Carolinas, that kind of thing. Or I'm guessing all over.
Yeah,
but,
more Georgia.
Being in Florida, you're kind of the
right
south,
down.
and you have a long way to go, I'd imagine.
Yeah, we're right down by Tampa. Like the average weekend road trip is about 7 hours.
Yeah.
That's the average. So, but you get used to it after a while. We've driven from Tampa to Texas. We've driven to New Orleans. We drove up to New Jersey and New York for WrestleMania weekend this year, just gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's always normally 3 or 4 of us in the car. Me, Blanco, Zach, and Ellie, the rest of the international superstars. There's always 3 or 4 of us in the car. We bring pillows, we bring blankets, we bring an iPad. So we've got movies we can watch, or we can just sleep in the back. So it's not like we're all up for like 15 hours straight, just like looking at the road.
So let's talk about. Let's compare, or I guess even contrast, the UK and America as far as like the style of wrestling. I know my only introduction to the European wrestling is like World of Sport, what you see on television. So kind of compare that a little bit, the style of wrestling.
I mean, World of Sport wrestling, and I think the originator of World of Sport, or the rules that World of Sport follows, was from Lord Mount Evans. So if anyone has the time to Google Lord Mount Evans rules of wrestling, you'll actually see the rules of wrestling, some of which still hold true today over here, as well as in the UK. But the difference, really, the main difference between British wrestling, like British wrestling, and the American wrestling is American wrestling is just bell to bell, however long. British wrestling is split into rounds, so you'll have like 3 or 5 minute rounds, and the contest will be decided over 2 pinfalls, 1 submission, or a knockout. That'll decide the winner, which actually makes for pretty interesting viewing, because if you're 1 fall apiece and you're in the last round, then you really don't know who's going to win. Mm-hmm. It's in England we call the good guys blue eyes and the heels villains. So it's like, is a blue eye going to win? Is a villain going to win? Who's going to win? And you can create a lot more drama with the British style of wrestling. For example, you can have someone in a submission hold for like 60 seconds, which sounds like a really long time, and when it's in like a 3-minute round, it is a really long time, especially when you have to sell it and make it look like it's really hurting you, or not having to sell it, as the case may be, if you're working a veteran of the UK scene, because they will put the hold on properly and they will hurt you. That's how I was brought in as well. Like, I was stretched properly to know how the moves felt. You can be in a submission hold for the last 60 seconds of like the 3rd round or something, and the bell rings for the end of the round just as you're about to tap, and the crowd can see that your hand's coming down and you're about to tap, and the bell rings, like, oh, thank God the blue eye he got a break, right, type thing. And you have seconds, which is just like a ring boy or a ring girl that comes out with you. They'll bring either like a stool or just like a bucket with like a sponge and towel and water, so in between rounds, the same as boxing basically.
Right. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
So very legitimate sports feel.
Very legitimate sports feel, and it was really, really closed off back in the day as well, like really closed off. I mean, I don't know what it was like over here, but I've heard stories from Brookside about when he first started going to train. It was in a gymnasium with all these older guys, and they literally just stretched him, punched him, kicked him, beat the crap out of him, for like 2 or 3 hours straight on a Saturday afternoon, and he kept going back for more. But that's how they weeded you out. They wanted to know if you wanted it or not. 3 of my first matches, 3 out of my first 4 matches, was against the guy that trained me. He just beat the crap out of me. I remember he gave me a snapmare once, and he kicked me in the back, and I thought my spine had just gone into like the 3rd row or something. I was just sat there, I was like, I can't breathe, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I was kind of curious as far as like some of the differences and that kind of thing. So, was it hard to adjust to the different wrestling style as far as like not so much?
No, not really, because I mean, in around about 2010, we started getting like, Adam Cole coming over. We were getting like Chris Hero coming over before that, Colt Cabana. I think his name was the Metal Master, Chad Collier. I don't know if you remember Chad Collier. No. We had Christopher Daniels coming over, Kazarian. Like all of the guys who were in TNA at the time when it was NWA TNA still, they were all coming over, Samoa Joe and that, because you had 1PW and IPW who were bringing in all these American names. So they kind of like, and obviously the WWF at the time was like really big in the UK, so everyone was watching American wrestling, and like British wrestling wasn't on TV. British wrestling was essentially dead in the water, apart from a few companies around the UK, WAW being one of them, who still uphold today the British wrestling rules. In a championship match, it will be a rounds match. They will play the national anthems of each competitor's country before the match starts, and it's given like a proper fight feel, so I mean, everyone in the UK, wrestlers and fans alike, were used to the American style of wrestling, and that's what they expected to see, so like having to adjust between what we do over there and what we do over here really wasn't too hard. I mean, there was some things that I would want to do that people wouldn't understand, and I explain how it works and what the payoff is at the end of it, and they still wouldn't understand, and I'd say, just trust me, we'll do it in there, and if it works, then you'll see what I mean, and if it doesn't work, then, well, I'm just going to eat my boot. And it was 50-50 on whether it works or not, but I blame that on the crowd. Because it works in England every time, so yeah.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about the differences in the ring between UK and USA.
Yeah.
Let's talk about outside the ring. So was it very difficult for you to, like, overall culture differences? Talk about that a little bit.
As weird as it sounds, the language barrier was a little bit of a thing to get over, because obviously we call sidewalks pavements in the UK. We call gas petrol. We don't call them gas stations. We call them petrol stations. There's a load, like we have aluminium, not aluminum. Like, we say words differently. We have different words for different things. So a lot of the time going into stores, it'd be like, oh, hey, have you got Galaxy bars? And they're like, what are Galaxy bars? It's a chocolate bar. No. Well, where are your chocolate bars? They're over there. Okay, cool. You go and look at the chocolate bars, and Galaxy over here is called Dove. So it's like, right, so I need to look for Dove bars now when I want to get my favourite chocolate. It doesn't taste anything like Galaxy. It tastes like ass.
Oh, not the same?
No, it doesn't taste the same at all.
I've always preferred German chocolate over American chocolate, so maybe that's a European thing.
Probably,
Could be.
Probably.
Snob.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Well, I like German chocolate too, so we're going to beat him up, or?
Get it on camera.
But no, I mean, like, yeah, as weird as it sounds, the language barrier, that was like the only real big thing. The only thing that really annoyed me actually was we call fries chips, and I go to Wing House or something and say, hey, can I get burger and chips? And they come and put a plate of crisps and a beef burger in front of me. I'm like, these aren't piss and chips, these are bloody crisps. Oh yeah, they're called fries, aren't they? So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a really hard transition. The only other thing that really gets me is the weather and like how humid it is, like down in Florida and like up here in Georgia. It's horrible.
South is rough.
Yeah, we get it for about 2 hours, not 2 hours, for about 2 weeks a year in the UK, and no one can handle it. Everyone walks around with that top on, which is horrendous to look at half the time. And yeah, so that was like the only real thing to get used to was the heat and just the little different sayings that you'll have over here.
So that's probably the biggest adjustment is the weather. And
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, everything else is pretty seamless.
What was your biggest surprise, as far as like not expecting differences in culture or overall, not just weather but culture as well?
I think how polite people are over here, because you walk into a store and no matter which store you walk into, they'll say, hey, welcome to Dollar General, welcome to 7-Eleven, welcome to Route 21 or whatever. Everywhere you go, people will say hi to you. Yeah. If you make eye contact with someone, either accidentally or on purpose, they'll say hello to you because it's just a polite thing to do. In England, you can be walking down the street, you might look at someone for 2 seconds too long and they'll be like, oi mate, what the F are you looking at? Do you want me to knock your effing block off, you effing a-hole? And it's like, no, I just happened to look at you for 2 seconds. My bad, I'm sorry. Like when you walk into stores, people won't say, hey, welcome to TK Maxx, or hey, welcome to H&M. They just like, they look at you walking and think, oh God, I got to put up with someone else in my bloody shop now. Brilliant. And like, if you go into a store over here that closes at 10 and you walk in at like 9:55, And they're like, hey, welcome to CVS, just so you know, we close in 10 minutes. It's like, I'll just be 2 minutes, thank you. Do it in the UK, it's like, oh, we're going to close in 5 minutes, you really have to come in here, can't you just go somewhere else? So, a big difference is, you know, how polite people are. And that's not just like all over the UK, it's in like, you know, certain areas, and I'm sure it's the same over here. You can probably go to certain areas and people will look at you like they just scraped you off the bottom of their shoe, basically. But for the most part, like, people do tend to be a lot more polite over here.
Okay. I believe in the South it's mostly a friendlier atmosphere, so as opposed to larger cities, especially up north. So
it's just a bit scary when they go, you ain't from around here, are you, sir? I'm like, no, I'm not, don't shoot me, please. I don't want to die.
I'm sure you get that one a lot.
Sometimes.
So I saw one of your recent Facebook posts was you mentioned being a personal trainer, and you shared some pictures of someone you had influenced that had a very dramatic weight loss. So let's talk about that a little bit. So you being a personal trainer, workout, for yourself, diet for yourself. Talk about that some.
So I started doing personal training just after I started wrestling, so I've been doing that for about 11 years as well. At the time it was just something I got into because I wanted something to make some money, and it's like a really well paid job here and in England. I wasn't really like super interested in it, I just wanted a job. But then actually when I was learning to do it and I was getting my qualification, I actually really looked into it. I was like, actually this is gonna be like a really, really cool job to have. You know, you're gonna take someone who is overweight and unhappy, or skinny and unhappy, that wants to be built like a monster, and you can help them get to their goal. You know, it's like a super rewarding job. I used to teach kids to swim before that for about 2 years. And my waiting list for my classes was just like stupid. It was like 6 months long, because like my style of teaching and my style of training is like very direct, which I guess I get that from my mom, because she's a very direct type of teacher. She taught the primary school, which is ages 4 to 11 in the UK. So what's that over here? Elementary?
Elementary is kindergarten through 5th, and then 6th through 8th is middle school, and high school is 9th through 12th.
So it would have been like,
so it's
it would have been like middle school-ish. So like her school that she works at, they came to use the pool that I worked at, and I was teaching one class and she was right next to me teaching another class, and one of her colleagues just started laughing, and we both looked up at the same time with the same expression on our faces, and just said, what? And then they started laughing even more, because they're like, well, you're literally like a carbon copy of like one another.
Wow.
I'm like, well, duh, she's my mom. You know. But like, her style of teaching is like very, very direct, as is my dad's. They were both school teachers. So like, I got with my teaching, I got kids to move on super quick. I got results, which is how I'm driven in life, is to get results. The same with PT. I have someone that comes to me and says, hey, in 3 months I want to have like an extra inch on my arm or on like every limb of my body. I'll get you 3 inches on every other limb of your body, because I will push you to, you know, to get that, which means I will have your phone number and I will text you randomly at like 8 o'clock on a Friday night saying, if you're drinking beer, you better pour that down the sink, otherwise I'm going to come around your house and kick your ass. Wow. I would not actually literally go around to a client's house and kick their ass, because I'm not going to do that. That would get me deported. So
it still gets their attention.
Gotta make them think that though.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like in terms of diet, you know, just eat a lot, about 6 meals a day. Try and keep it as clean as possible. Being on the road is hard too, because you have Waffle House. God, you have Waffle House.
Waffle House.
We don't have Waffle House in the UK. It's the best place in the world. I love Waffle House. So, and you've got really good sushi over here too. So I mean, like, you know, on the road it is hard to try and keep your diet in check. You've just got to, you know, be careful with what you eat and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, it's a cool job to have, to be fair. It's a really cool job to do.
Do you prep meals for the road, or you just figure it out as you go?
No, I just figure it out as I go. Just because if I fall asleep in the car and I don't close the bag, it's going to heat up and go rotten and stuff like that. I do, you know, for in the week when I'm at home, because it's a no-brainer. You can just leave them in the fridge and whatnot. So.
What about your workout regimen? How many days do you work out and that kind of thing?
Between 5 and 6 days a week. Honestly, it depends on my mood when I go to the gym. I either will want to do a crazy workout for about 2 hours and just like crawl out the gym, or I might just want to go in there for like half an hour, 45 minutes, do like 10 minutes of cardio and do a 35-minute workout, but just have like, very small rest in between and just do high reps with lower weights and just push through it. So it generally does depend on my mood, but it's either 2 hours or like anywhere between half an hour and 2 hours, which is like a really broad window now that I think about that. I should probably change that. I should probably be really consistent with like an hour and a quarter or something, I don't know. So yeah.
So we talked about a lot of times when I talk to wrestlers, especially independent wrestlers, it's a part-time basis for them. It's not what they do full-time. I'm always curious what they do, between weekends, so to speak. Yeah. And I asked you that, and you said this is what you do, this full-time wrestling. So what other jobs have you had as far as like, I know you mentioned personal training, but any other jobs you've had that were?
I've been a lifeguard, I've been a swimming teacher, a gym instructor, which then evolved into a personal trainer. I work for the National Health Service in England as well, where I would basically go from one hospital to another, and I would pick up like organs like hearts and lungs for a transplant and drive them cross country to another hospital. I go and pick up blood and transport it from a blood donation van to the main blood bank, which was just outside of North London, which was a pretty cool job. When you're in a hospital and you're in a lift or an elevator, as we call them over here, I guess. And you have a bag that says human blood written on it, and there's a little kid in the elevator, and they look at you, and they look at the bag, and they can read human blood, and they look at you, and you're just like, I'm a vampire, but don't tell anybody. Like, Mom, that guy's a vampire. I'm like, shh. But so yeah, those are like the main jobs I've had. I've had like odd jobs here and there, but they've like really like short-term jobs that last like 2 or 3 weeks because they were just horrendous. But like the main ones I've always done is like personal training and gym instructing and lifeguard and swim teaching, which is pretty cool.
What do you think you would do if you weren't wrestling?
I would be a teacher.
Teacher?
Yeah, I would teach PE. Originally I wanted to be a PE teacher. I went to university to train to become a PE teacher. That's our version of college. Your university is like our PhD like stage, I think. So originally I went to university to become a PE teacher, then I discovered, wrestling again, and then I started wrestling, and then I was like, I really don't want to be stuck at university to become a teacher. In hindsight, I probably should have done, because I would have had like a nice, concrete base to fall back on if I don't end up making it with wrestling. But then at the same time, the argument to that is that you have different qualifications in England to be able to teach kids or high schoolers than you do over here. Sure. It's the same as personal training. You have to have a different qualification from there over to here. I was lucky that the qualification I have is a worldwide qualification, so I got really lucky with that. Otherwise, I would have been paying to do my qualification all over again.
Right.
So.
All right, let's talk about the group that you're part of, the International Superstars. Eventually, we'd like to have all of you individually on the show, and I want to start with you, since I'd probably talk to you more than the others at this point. So let's talk about how it started out. So just based on my memory and pictures, I remember seeing you and Blanco Loco first. Yeah. Is that correct? Then later on, Dream Girl Ellie, and then more recently, Zach Cooper.
Zachary.
Okay. Zachary. All right. So tell me about how to start. Like you said, you and Blanco started out first together, the two of you, and
So back end of 2017, Blanco and me started training together. How we started talking actually was like really funny, because I was wrestling someone on a Wednesday night at ACW, and I asked one of my friends if they could film my match, because I wanted to be able to put footage on YouTube and stuff like that for when I go back home and whatnot. So my friend's filming the match, and we do this like starting sequence. I think I was a babyface. So like we do this starting sequence. He takes the powder out of the ring, and just as he's climbing in, an unmasked Blanco Loco. It's the most horrific sight you will ever see in your life, by the way. You really, if you can zoom in on my face at this point when you edit it, it'd be cool.
I'll try.
If you ever see Blanco Loco without a mask on, run. So anyway, during this bit where the heel gets out of the ring just before he gets back in, an unmasked Blanco walks past the camera and goes, "Hello," and then just walks off. So I'm watching the match back afterwards, and like I see this happen, I'm just like, you mother bleep. And I go and find him, like, hey, don't ever walk in front of the camera when I'm having a match, filmed again, otherwise you and me are gonna have words. And he's like, all right, calm down, it's just a joke, chill, you miserable English git, chill. And then like literally since then, me and him have been training together. We now live together. I live with him for like nearly like a year now. In October it'll be a year that I've lived with him. And so yeah, we've been like training together for like well over a year now, nearly 2 years actually. Actually no, it is 2 years that we've been training together. But like he started getting bookings outside of Florida. You know, he one of the first places that he came to was here, as well as Elite Championship Wrestling over Pensacola and Louisiana way. And he just said to me, he was like, hey, I'm going to this company on this weekend in like a few months, and this one here, and blah, blah, blah. And he sent me his schedule. So what I basically did is I piggybacked on what he was doing, and I would message the promoters. I messaged Josh and said, hey, just so you know, I'm going to be riding with Blanco to this show. I will have my gear with me. If you need an extra hand, let me know. I'm available, blah, blah, blah. And that's how I ended up getting, you know, out and around in America a lot more. So me and him had a feud going on at ACW in Newport Richey, Florida, which literally started in the match that he finished his old feud with another wrestler. And we went backwards and forwards, and it was cool because we could do it transatlantically, because it was when I was still flitting between England and here, so we could do promos and stuff like that. Unfortunately, the company that we were doing it for didn't really give us like the momentum that we needed for it, so it kind of like died in the water until I came back. So we kind of started in a feud. We had a non-sanctioned match in February 2018, beat the piss out of each other, and then a couple of weeks later we went to WXW, which is run by Afa, the Wild Samoan. And he had us booked on a show, and we turned up. We didn't have a clue what we were doing, and we get there and he says, boys, you're going to tag up. Alright, cool, not a problem. Kind of funny because last week we were beating the crap out of each other. Your name's the International Superstars. Blanco's like, cool. I'm like, what'd you say? Because my nickname was the International Superstar, Joey Ozbourne.
Wow.
Saeed Al Sabah like gave me that nickname when me and him had a match in October 2017. So I'm like, International Superstars, huh? Alright. Well, I guess I got to come up with a new nickname. And I stubbornly kept the International Superstar for about 4 months until he's like, you can't keep calling yourself the International Superstar when we tag up. You just can't. You need to come up with a new nickname. I'm like, great, fine. And that's how the British Nightmare came about. He just thought about it one day in the gym, Googled it to see if anybody used that nickname, and nobody does. And he was like, why don't you use that? And I thought, you know what, screw it. I can't think of anything else. I can't be bothered to argue. Let's go with it.
Okay.
So that's literally how that came up. And it's grown on me, to be fair. Like the entrance music that we use, I hated it to begin with, really hated it, but it's grown on me. So.
Very good. So what point did you, so first, how did you meet Dream Girl Ellie? And at what point did you decide to make her part of the International Superstars?
So she was coming to ACW as well. So we met her on a Wednesday. Didn't really talk to her that much to begin with. Like she was really shy, really quiet. Sometimes I wish she was still shy and quiet because bloody hell, she is a pain in the backside sometimes. I'm joking. I'm going to get a text message as soon as she sees that saying, I'm a pain in the ass, am I? I see. Well, you know what? You can bleep, 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 bleep. So yeah, she came to shows, which is where we met her at ACW. And then, you know, she did a couple of matches. Blanco saw the potential that she's got, which to be fair, she has like heaps and heaps of like potential. She's like way further forward than a lot of other girls that have been doing the job as long as her. You know, she's like leagues ahead of them. So like he saw the potential, and he just said, listen, if you wanna, you can ride along on the road with us. If we can get you bookings, we'll get you booked. You know, there's no guarantee you're going to get booked, but it gives you the option to get out there. Which, to be fair, she's wrestled in 11 states in like the last year and a half since she started wrestling, which is it's pretty good for like you know, someone that's still like, you know, new in the business. And not only that, she's worked for WWE. She's done extra work at Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Nice. You know, so she's you know, just doing. Yeah. Same with Blanco as well. He's done Raw, SmackDown, NXT. He's done Impact. So we've all gotten around, I guess.
So you said that her just was it different thinking like adding a female to the group as opposed to another male at the time?
No, not really. It was, you know, she fit in with us. You know, we got on really well, like all three of us do. And you know, she just showed that she wanted to be part of the group. She wanted to, you know, get her name out there and push herself as much as she could, you know. And that's the thing is, Blanco stresses with the group that because we're such like I guess unique would be the word, because you have like a lot of 4-person stables in wrestling. You've got Undisputed Era, you had like the Horsemen and stuff like that, but I can't think of a stable that's had like 3 guys and 1 girl, or 2 guys and 1 girl. Alright, 2 guys, 1 girl, you got Tessa and Albert, the Hardys and Lita and stuff like that. But like in modern day wrestling, I can't think of another stable who has 3 guys and 1 girl. So it's like a really like unique thing. You know, in a lot of places you go, it's like 3 guys and a girl, that's different, but it's cool. And it works because we're all different people. Blanco is like a high flyer and he's crazy. I'm a moody, miserable British dude who just wants to punch you or headbutt you. Eddie's like wavy and bouncy, and Zach's just like 6'4", 260 pounds, and he's just mental. He does flips and stuff like a cruiserweight, which is bloody bizarre. Which I guess is going to bring you to Zach now, isn't it?
Yeah, almost. You kind of got me on the side now with the way you're talking about the combination. So Sanity NXT, there were 3 guys and a girl, and one thing I really liked about them was just because the different dimensions they could offer. Like, you know, they had the single wrestler, and they had the tag team, then they had the female. So I mean, they all kind of help each other out. So I always appreciated like just the different classifications, the different categories of wrestling they're all part of, the divisions. Dangerous Alliance, way back in the day, they were one of the first ones that had like a male group with a female in it, with Lunder Blaze or Medusa at the time. So I've always appreciated. I love groups like that. So it's really cool seeing one with a female in it. So so let's talk about Zach now. So how'd you meet him and brought him to the group?
Which, as of right now, we've never seen Zach.
You haven't seen him,
No. Yeah, we've seen you guys several
You're in
times.
for a treat when you see him. He's phenomenal. So I met him through last summer, and he would hang around with us and he would travel with us, and like he was bugging, like, can I be an international superstar? Can I be an international superstar? It's making him sound desperate, but he wasn't doing it in a desperate way. He just wanted to be, part of the group, so all 4 of us could all be on the road together and stuff like that. And it was like pushed off, and then eventually, he proved himself, I guess, to that, he can be in the group and stuff like that. Blanco, sorry, you're going to have to edit that where I say his real name, please.
I noticed that.
Please
No
edit
problem.
that.
We can take care of that.
They'll kill me. I don't want to die. So yeah, he ended up, kind of like hardwiring himself into the group as well. It was kind of like, all right, fine, he can be in the group. But the good thing is with that is that all 3 of us are normally together all over the place, and then because Zach came in later on, he'd already secured all of his own bookings, so like we can be in one place and then Zach can be in another place. And then like eventually at some point there was an instance a couple of weeks ago where I was in Alabama, one of them was in North Carolina, the other 2 were in South Carolina, so we're in 3 different states. So it's kind of like we're all over the place, which is really good because it's making the brand bigger, so, which is great.
You guys have a great presentation, a great online presence. Social media stuff is wonderful. Your gear is probably the best gear I've seen of any other wrestlers.
That's eLucha.
Okay.
eLucha.com.
Okay.
Say we sent you. Get us a discount, please.
I can tell you guys are very intentional with your appearance and the way you handle yourselves business-wise, and that's a lot of respect for you for doing that. So, all right, moving on to something different. So I'm sure you know Tracer X. I don't know if you ever noticed at his table, somebody bought him a cereal box that has his picture on it, on the Frosted Flakes box.
Okay.
Kind of back in the day, we had Wheaties with the sports star at the time.
Right. Okay.
So this is a question from our friend Cody Fluffman, who is tearing it up right now in PCW. So if you could be on a cereal box, what would it be?
Damn. So we used to have Frosties in the UK. I think they're now called Frosted Flakes. with Tony the Tiger.
Yeah, that's what Tracer X is on.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, ironically, it
would be that.
It would be that. Yeah. I used to every Saturday morning and Sunday morning, I go downstairs into the kitchen, sit there and watch TV with the dog, and I just eat like 4 or 5 bowls of Frosties and just pour the milk on and wait for it so they just got the right type of sogginess with the frosted sugar coming off and just like and they were gone. Pretty much the same as I eat sushi.
Okay,
Gone.
we talked sushi a little bit,
we
so
did.
we need to work that out next
did.
time. But like I said, I told him about the sushi buffet that in Evans that I like to go to.
I knew you were going to drop that one because you were always sponsoring those guys.
Yeah,
So,
definitely did.
When you asked me about the cookout, for some reason, Well, for some reason, I thought you were going to bring me like a gift card for Cookout or something like that, as like a thank you for doing this. And I was like, I'm sure Cookout don't do gift cards, but like that's why I asked you on Facebook about that. And when you were like, it's going to be part of the interview, I was like, right, okay. Because if you said that you were going to bring Cookout, I'd have just said, can you just go to Publix and get me some Philadelphia sushi rolls?
I prefer that, right?
Yeah, that would have been great.
So we talked about the sushi buffet, and he was like, we have to do it sometime when I'm not here for wrestling. I was like, I guess it'll be kind of hard to work after eating plates full of sushi.
There's a couple of good ones. I don't eat sushi, but all you guys, there's a couple in Augusta that
you need to eat sushi. That's good.
I can't do it. I
get used to it.
Can't do it.
We'll go sometime. We can try it out. All right, Joe's going to do a different feature. He'll explain it to you.
So this question, we call it the over-the-top rope question, and it comes from our previous guest. Our previous guest was Effie.
And we'll ask you in a month or so.
We're going to get one from you for our next guest later on down the road.
He's told me this.
Effie spoiled this for me?
He hasn't told me what the question is, but
he said be ready.
He sent me a message on Instagram a couple of days ago, and he said, by the way, when you do your interview, they're going to ask you a question from me, and I want them to read it fully, and I want to see what your answer is. So this is.
He wants to make sure I didn't short it.
I did a copy and paste. So
yeah, this is legit, the entire thing. Thank you, Effie, for your question.
Yeah, maybe thank you, maybe I hate you. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right. A man comes to you and says you've been given a curse. You can never wrestle again or never watch wrestling again. The only way to survive is to give one up. Otherwise, certain death immediately with no heaven or whatever. What do you choose, and how does it feel to have an intact foreskin? That's his question. So, Effie, thank you for putting me in this position here.
Great. You notice I gave that to you, and I didn't read that one.
I figured. Effie was my guest, so.
You said this was a PG show.
It's Effie.
This is true.
This is a different level.
That was actually like a real cool question, and then you finish it
for
like that.
For about 80% of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a man comes to you and says you've been cursed, you can never wrestle again or never watch wrestling again. The only way to survive is to give one up, otherwise certain death. Immediately with no heaven or hell or whatever. So what he's basically saying is I can either never watch wrestling again
or never wrestle again.
Or wrestle.
But if I don't wrestle again, then I can watch wrestling.
You can watch wrestling forever. Yeah.
Right, okay. I would probably never watch wrestling again, so I could keep on wrestling.
Work,
yeah. And the second question, I'll DM you. I'll DM you. I don't know what it feels like because it's the only thing I'm bloody used to, mate.
Thank you for keeping it PG for us. Okay, we're moving into the hot tag, and this is essentially. Nate likes to call this a Twitter answer, like 140 characters or less. First thing comes in your head.
Not necessarily one word response.
It doesn't have to be one word, but keep it short.
Okay.
First one up, Gymnasty Boys.
Tucking it between your legs to me.
Okay, number 2, Ugly Ducklings.
Crazy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Number 3, he's been a subject here already today, Blanco Loco.
Headache. No, I'm joking.
Wow.
I'd say brother. I would answer say brother.
I can see that, yeah. Number 4, Sean Legacy, someone you're kind of...
Desperate for Twitter followers.
Oh, desperate for Twitter followers.
He followed me, bless him. And as I tweeted, how cute Sean Legacy followed me. Darius like, I hope he punches lights out or something this weekend.
So you handle all our Twitter stuff, so I haven't seen any of that.
Yeah, I need to get on it more, it sounds like.
And number 5, and we've spoken about her as well, Dream Girl Ellie.
I'm not allowed to swear, am I?
If you can avoid it.
Ton of potential.
All right, and that's it for the hot tag.
All right, so now we're going to the 10 count, which is a feature where it's pretty much a bucket of questions we can ask any wrestler, just kind of generic stuff, and ask anybody. So, number 1, have you played any other sports? We talked football a little bit.
Yeah, so I've played badminton, I've done sprinting or athletics, or I guess you call it, and football or soccer, as we call it here. Those are like the main ones. I've tried other sports, but those are the 3 main ones that I've done.
So what do you play in football? More of an offense, defense?
So my favourite football player is David Beckham. Mm-hmm. He was like my first hero as a kid. So I always would play right midfield because that's where he played. I also played in defence. I tried playing in goal. Dreadful. Mm-hmm. I also was a striker, which was kind of 50-50. Like sometimes I can hit a barn door with a shotgun, sometimes I can't hit a barn door with a shotgun. It just all depends. So mainly right midfield though was where I'd play. Okay. And then obviously sprinting was 100 and 200.
That's cool. So I don't know if they have this term in the UK, but who was the GOAT?
The greatest of all time.
Yes.
Gee, I don't know. Greatest of all time. Don't know. I'll play it safe and say The Rock.
I know you mentioned The Rock. And
Yeah.
you made the argument for him earlier, so yeah. All right, let's talk about road trip playlist.
I will listen to anything. I'm not a huge fan of like EDM and like all that like squeaky voice kind of music that sounds like it just came out of a anime film. I don't like that kind of music. It is mainly rock, like indie rock and roll and stuff like that. I do like classical music. I do a lot of work on Photoshop, so when I'm doing Photoshop work, I listen to classical music, like movie soundtracks, but like the scores from the movies, not like the actual songs that they use.
Right.
On the road though, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I get in the car and I'm like, oh, what do I want to listen to? And I'm like, do I want to listen to The Killers? No. Chili Peppers? No. Limp Bizkit? No. Disturbed? No. Korn? No. Slipknot? No. Let's listen to Hatebreed. No, let's not listen to Hatebreed. So sometimes I just press shuffle and whatever comes on, I just go with it. So
speaking of car, what was your first car, and was there a funny story about it?
Not really a funny story about it in any such way. Well, there's a couple of funny stories involving it. My first car was a Volkswagen Polo, which is so you have a Volkswagen Golf, and then the one below a Volkswagen Golf is a Polo. It's slightly smaller than the Golf. It's like the Kia Soul. Actually, no, what's that? I don't know what kind of comparison. You know, all right. So you have like a Honda Civic, and then the next one up from a Honda Civic is a Honda Accord,
yeah.
Right? So it's like the Honda Civic of Volkswagens. So like the Polo's the Civic, and the Golf is the Accord. That's the easiest way to explain it.
Okay.
Thank you to my girl for that.
So, all right, we talked about it earlier. What's your cookout order you go to?
Double cheeseburger with no lettuce, no tomato, no sauce, just cheese and extra onions with a cheese quesadilla and seasoned fries. And a Minute Maid lemonade if it's available, if not an orange Fanta.
Okay.
And if that's not available, a Coke. And if that's not available, then just bloody water will do.
So that's fun. There's so many different combinations with the sides you can get. That's a fun question. So, all right, Joe's going to do the next 5.
And now you know why he asked you the prep question for
Yes.
that.
No gift card, sorry.
Number 6. Pick a superpower.
It'd be a toss-up between 2, invincibility and flight. But leaning more towards flight because it'd be so much easier to fly places on your own free will than have to drive a car or wait in an airport.
We've heard teleportation for that same purpose.
Yeah, teleportation would be cool.
Yeah.
But just like flying from the point of view that you can see everything as you go, you know, it'd be fun.
Yeah. Number 7, and you know, Nate and I and some of the other guys, we've talked about how much drama there is just from what we see. Yeah. And I'm sure there's a whole nother level of drama for the workers and promoters and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So we get a lot of answers about that in regards to this question, but this is for you to answer. If you could change one thing in the pro wrestling business, we call this the genie in a bottle.
Okay.
What would it be?
I guess the most regular common answer you've had is the politics, isn't it?
Well, and again, the drama. If we could just do away with that, just let guys work and go to the next spot.
If we could get rid of the drama, if we could get like all the boys like sufficient health care, and I think on top of that, like a really good payday,
right?
Because there's nothing worse than going to a show when you agree to a price with a promoter and it's a crap crowd, which isn't the wrestler's fault, it's the promoter's fault for not doing their job properly.
Right.
And they come up to you and they short you by like $40-50 and the excuse is sorry the house was down tonight, which I know has always been like an excuse in English and British and American wrestling. It's always been like an excuse, but it shouldn't be at the end of the day. If you're promoting a show, you should have that your fund for the card there and ready to go, so you can pay your boys when they walk in the building. Right. I used to promote in England, and the first show that I did, I paid people after the show, and I was praying that I had a good draw because I went into it with no money at all, and I actually made a profit on it, which was fantastic. And then the second show I promoted about a month and a half later, I did pre-sale tickets and I hand delivered them personally myself and got all the money beforehand. So when the boys would turn up to wrestle, I would shake their hand, give them their envelope and say thank you for coming to work for me today. And everyone actually went out there and put on a really good show because they got paid before the show. And like, there was a wrestler called Keith Myatt who has been around for ages. He's like a veteran, real nice guy. And he turned up to the show. I said, "Hey Keith, thank you, here's your pay." Shook his hand and he's like, "Oh, bloody hell, Duck." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I've been working for nearly 30 bloody years and never in my life have I had someone pay me my bloody wage before I've even put my boots on. I'm going to do my absolute hardest for you tonight." I was like, "I appreciate it, thank you."
That worked, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, like, if I could change one thing in wrestling, it'd be like, I guess it's like an umbrella thing, but it'd be the drama and the paydays. And because, like, when we go in that ring, you know, like, Blanco last night, you know, he tweaked his knee. Like, I've gone in there, I've got a piece of flown bone in my elbow, ironically, from the match with Blanco, the non-sanctioned match we had. I have a pulled groin, my neck is absolutely ruined. The middle to lower part of my back is just, it aches permanently from being in the car and taking bumps and stuff like that. So, I mean, you know, if I could change one thing, it would probably be the paydays, actually. Because I can deal with drama, I can deal with BS, because I just don't listen to it, it's just noise. But the one thing that is, you know, I would say mildly, but it's very infuriating that the boys don't, and the, also not just the boys, but the girls as well, don't get compensated for what we do in the ring. Like, half of us don't have medical insurance. Right. If we get dropped on our head and we break our neck and we're in a wheelchair for the rest of our life, we literally can't support ourselves. We can't pay for anything. And a wrestling promoter every month isn't going to be like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to give you money because you hurt yourself on my show." No one's going to do that.
Right.
You know, even Vince or Cody probably wouldn't do that because they just wouldn't, you know.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, they've got health insurance, I guess, if you work for the WWE or AEW, so you're not going to have to worry about that too much.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Number 8, dream match. Name someone dead and someone alive you'd love to have a dream match with.
All right, the dead person that I would love to have a dream match with is Chris Benoit, because he was intense as hell.
Yes.
I got a lot of comparisons to him as well when my hair started growing out when I was younger and when I started growing it out again a couple of years ago. So, and like his style of wrestling was like really like just like smash mouth, which I like to watch. I don't like to actually compete in, but I like to watch it. But yeah, so Chris Benoit for the dude that's dead, and the guy that's alive, toss up between Rock and Triple H. Obs.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously.
All right, number 9 on the 10 count. You're in a street fight. You cannot walk away or talk your way out of it. You get pick 2 guys that have your back.
Zach
any
and
wrestlers.
Blanco. Zach and Blanco.
So that
straight out.
That brotherhood there.
Yeah, straight out. They would have my back. Even if I was in the wrong, they would have my back. They would help me beat the crap out of someone, and then they'd probably have a go at me afterwards for getting them into trouble or something. But like, no, straight out, Zach and Blanco would have my back.
Gotcha.
And if Zach wasn't there, Eddie would have my back, and heaven helps someone that has to pull up with him in a bad mood.
And number 10 on the 10 count, our final official question here. We call this the envy question. Our last guest was Effie.
Yeah.
If you could take something of Effie's and have it as your own, it could be anything.
His damn jacket.
The jacket,
His
of course.
jacket.
Right? Of course.
I want the damn jacket.
I had to take a picture of the jacket last
Oh,
night
it's so
because
cool.
it's so amazing.
It's so cool. I'm stealing your jacket, by the way, Effie. I'm going to steal your jacket.
He's coming for you.
Sorry, you said no promos. I'm sorry.
That's number 10 on the 10 count. That wraps up. You got anything else?
No, that's it.
About
I want to give you a chance to plug yourself and where people, promoters can find you, fans can find you, buy your merchandise, book you for shows, that kind of thing. Where can they find you on social media?
So on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Joey Ozbourne, all one word, Ozbourne with a Z. Merchandise, Pro Wrestling Tees / I think it's INTL Superstars. Go in the search bar at the top, type in the International Superstars. You'll find all of our stuff, not just me, Blanco, Zach, and Eddie as well. What was the other one you said, sorry?
This is social media, or how promoters can reach out to you.
Oh, to reach out to me,
Email,
you can...
anything like that, or whatever.
To reach out to me, you can message me on any form of social media. I have an email address, which is jpw2210@icloud.com. I also do posters and graphic design for wrestling companies. So if you are interested in any of that, also please hit me up on Facebook so I can send you some samples of my work and try and get a bit more money.
Including with some of the stuff from tonight, correct? Or
not the stuff tonight, but the 24th.
The next show,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah,
the Summer of Quack.
I've seen a little bit of that, and it's very good.
Thank you.
You are a professional when it comes to that as well.
Gone red.
Make them blush.
It stinks in there. It doesn't really. I had a shower this morning.
All right, so we can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Suplexes Mics, at Suplexes Mics. Go to our YouTube channel, which is all our interviews are on here. So please subscribe so you can get notification. Usually I'll have it uploaded before and for a day or so before I promote it on social media. So be the first to know of
First
the interview
dibs.
dropping. Yes, first dibs, get to it first.
Dibs.
And so, and that is tinyurl.com/suplexes mics. So, yeah, that's it, Joey. Thanks again for your time, getting here early and meeting with us, and
You're
really
welcome.
enjoyed getting to know you better. So, thank you.
Thank you. Now
All
I'm
right.
going to get ready for a ladder match.
That's right.
All right. Thanks for
Episode
watching.
27.